Hello and welcome to another edition of Fangirl Thursday. I am your host, Lynn Shaw, and thank you very much for being here. As you can tell from the little promo that I have posted there for you, June was a very productive month for me for reading and listening to audiobooks. Finally got out of my funk, got my mojo back. Woo! Very excited for that. Yeah, so let's dive into to some books and some reviews and talk a little shop. So to kick it off, I was able to finish reading The Third House by Heather Karn, and I don't know why this book was hard for me to finish. It just kept getting put off and put to the side as other things were coming up, other reviews I needed to get posted, and arcs I needed to get reviewed up as well. So this one took a little longer than it should have. I didn't read all of it this month, but I did finish it this month, so it counts. So that is The Third House, which is the final book in the First Blood trilogy by Heather Karn. I absolutely love this series from Heather, and like I said, this is the third book in the trilogy, and in this one we find out ultimately who is behind trying to destroy the third house and to kill Coda. And it's up to her to kind of come into her own and take charge and be the badass that she was meant to be. It is the thrilling conclusion to the Third Blood trilogy. We get to see Coda be the leader that she was born to be. We've all felt that it was leading up to this, and I promise you, you will not be disappointed. Non-stop action and filled with plot twists that the reader will not see coming. This is by far my favorite series from Heather Karn. It was absolutely amazing. Kind of sorry that it ended, but I have heard that there is a fourth Bunker book coming out that is gonna kind of continue this on from another character's perspective, and so that'll be neat that we'll get to go back and revisit some of our favorite characters from the series, because honestly I was not ready to let them go. Also, if you were with us earlier this month, you know that I read an arc of Mate Level 8. It came out on the 13th of June, I believe, and we had Heather on that week to talk about it. This book is a sci-fi romance. It's different than anything else that Heather has ever written, and it's very different from what I normally read. And coming off of the rush that the First Blood series was, this is a lot tamer. But I still enjoyed the series. It was a nice change of pace for me. The main character, Cammy, is very snarky and very self-sufficient and independent, and I really like that about her. And she's a little bit of a rebel too. That comes out in the story. For those of you who aren't familiar with this, with the book, it is a sci-fi romance, and Cammy gets abducted by an alien race, and they refuse to take her back to Earth because when they test her, they realize that she's mate material, which means that, of course, pretty much what that sounds like, that she can be paired with one of their men and that she can reproduce and have children. So that's very important to their culture and to their race, because something has struck the men and the women, and they're not all able to reproduce. So they're on the verge of possibly going extinct. So women are very revered and very important to them. So they don't want to let her go for that reason. And she gets to visit new worlds. She gets treated like a queen. The main character guy in this, his name is Kai, and He is swoon worthy in his own right. He puts her on a pedestal, basically. And if you're looking for your next boyfriend, you are definitely going to find it in the Mate Level 8 book. So I definitely recommend that you check that out. We've got a couple of people that have popped in with us tonight. So a little shout out to Crystal. Crystal is my partner in crime if we've got any newbies joining us tonight. You can find her reading a lot of our romance on the page, and she does most of our general blogging and things like that for the tour groups that we are a part of. So a lot of behind the scenes things Crystal takes care of so that I get to do this. And I certainly appreciate that. Hello, Heather. If you missed it, I was just gushing about your book, Third House, and also Mate Level 8. Hello, Melanie. Thank you for popping in as well. Crystal, yes, the new shelves are up. They are finished. I have a few things on the opposite side of the room that you guys aren't privy to that need to be cleaned and put away. Still working on a couple of those things. But for the most part, the room is finished. I cannot be happier. I love the new shelves. However, I already need more. I have 40 feet of bookshelves, and obviously, as you guys can see, it's packed. So yeah, that was my Vanna White interpretation. So yeah, I need more. I'm trying to figure out where in here I can put more shelves. My husband's thrilled. So back to the books. The next book on my list for June, such a productive month, was The Collector. The Collector is by K.R. Alexander, and this is a middle grade horror. And this is actually a book that was recommended to me from author Kelly Martin. And you guys know she writes tons of ghost stories and horror and that sort of thing. And I picked up this book based off of her recommendation, and I loved it. I'm definitely going to be checking out other books by this author. Such a creepy cover. Just the doll with the dead eyes and the peeling face and everything. Just very, very creepy. So this book is about Josie, and she and her sister and her mother have moved in with her grandmother out into the country. Her grandmother has some very strange rules. One of those rules is don't bring any dolls in the house. And honestly, if they look like this, I wouldn't want them in my house either. Her other rule is to never go into the house in the woods behind their home. So, of course, these are children we're talking about here. So those rules get broken. When Josie goes to school, she meets Vanessa. And Vanessa happens to live in the house that she has specifically been told by her grandmother to not visit. So, yeah. The Collector is a spine-tingling page-turner. Definitely not for the faint of heart or any doll collectors. It is part mystery and all horror. It has a rundown house in the woods. It has a scary witch. And it has a bazillion creepy dolls. It may be middle grade horror, but trust me, on an adult level, it was fantastic. I devoured it in a day because it really is a short read, but definitely worth checking out this and other books by the author. Highly, highly recommend it. Let's see, we had a question pop in from Crystal. Yes, it is on Scholastic, and he has some other books on there as well. I picked this one up from Amazon, and I want to say it was maybe $6 or $6.50 for the paperback, so it really wasn't that expensive. He is not in KU. All of the other books and audiobooks that I talk about on here All of those authors have those books in Kindle Unlimited right now, but this one is not in Kindle Unlimited. You can get the Kindle ebook version, but honestly, I want to say it was like $4.99, and the paperback was $6 or $6.50. So I really thought it had a cool cover, so I wanted the paperback. And I mean, there wasn't a huge price difference between the paperback and the ebook, so I splurged. Now, let's see. Who else did I read? What else do we have on here? I'm pulling up the list. Let's see. Let's see. Here we go. Okay. You guys know I'm a huge fan of Carolyn Ritter Aspenson. Love, love, love her books. Cannot say enough great things about her. She writes both regular cozy mysteries. She writes cozy paranormal mysteries. She writes a psychic medium series that's not cozy. It's kind of, it's not exactly a crime thriller, but it's probably just below that. And she is currently working on a crime thriller series with her new publishing house. And I cannot wait to see what she does with that. She is cranking out these cozies like nobody's business. They're great books, great characters, and I love them. She's a great writer. The first one that I devoured from her this month is Spooks for Sale. This one is about Alyssa Gray. She is a receptionist for a real estate company, and one of her bosses is getting a house ready to be showed, and she's found dead. And there's some speculation as to whether or not any foul play was involved or not. And then she goes to the house because her boss tells her, okay, it's now your responsibility to get this house ready. You need to show it. We need to get this house sold immediately. It's bad luck. It's got to go. And when she gets there, she sees the ghost of her dead boss. And she's in shock because, of course, that's not something everybody sees. And I left out a very important part of the story. Alyssa is a witch. And when witches come into their powers, they're kind of assigned jobs. And so she finds out that this is her assigned job. She has to help any unrestful spirits that she comes across, that kind of thing. So she meets her familiar, who in this particular series happens to be a mouse. And I just thought that was fantastic. You always read about witches having a familiar who's a cat or something cool along those lines, sometimes a bird, a raven, or something like that. But you don't really think of a tiny little mouse as being very good at being a familiar. So it's interesting to see her interact with him and how he tries to help guide her along on her journey of being this new ghost whisperer, so to speak. What I liked about this story is one of the keys to keeping the suspense and surprising, one of the great keys to a great cozy mystery is keeping the reader in suspense and really dragging out the whodunit, you know, kind of leaving that up in the air. This one, I didn't have a clue who did it. I thought I did, and I didn't. And then when the reasoning behind who did what to whom is revealed, I was completely shocked. There were some things, of course, you know, that made you think, could that be possible? But I didn't take it far enough along to work it all out in my head and come up with an answer before the author spelled it out for me. So that's always the sign of a good book. And again, because it's a cozy, these are relatively quick and easy reads. The characters are usually fun. So yeah, love them. The other one that I devoured from her is book 3 in the Chantilly Adair Psychic Medium Cozy Mystery. That's a mouthful. Um, Initially, I started this one out on audio, and I love audiobooks, but the narrator that was doing the audiobook for this one is different than the person who did the previous installments. And no offense to the lady doing the audiobook, but she didn't differentiate enough between the different characters as far as changing her voice and speech patterns, that trying to listen to it and work at the same time, I didn't pick up on those key differences that I needed to keep the story and the characters separate in my head, if that makes sense to you guys. So I got confused. And I mean, these are cozies. It's not rocket science. No offense to the author, but they're not rocket science. They're not supposed to. Um, so I had to stop listening to the audiobook about halfway through and grab my ebook copy of this one and finish it so that I could make sure I fully understood who was what and be able to write a decent review for the book. Like I said, this is the third one in the series. They are all separate enough that you could read them as a standalone, but if you're interested, the first book in the series is on sale right now for 99 cents, or the entire series, all of her books, are available through Kindle Unlimited. So this one follows Chantilly, and she works for the Historical Society, and she is trying to get a local church listed on the historical registry and get some money allotted to have some repairs and things like that done for the church. And in the process of her going to do that, she's in the church and she's walking around and she's making some notes of some things that need to be done. And she goes in the basement, and of course, what does she find? A dead body, of course. So she starts investigating as well, because that's just what she does. She's nosy, aren't we all? And she's trying to figure out who murdered this person in the church and why. And at the same time, she's trying to convince the town board members that money needs to be allotted and this church needs to be saved and that sort of thing. What I liked about this one is the current murder is tied to a decades-old murder and fire that happened in the church many years prior to that. And it involves some of the same people who were alive then as well as now. And the same family who ministered the church back then is still involved in the church now. So it's kind of neat the way the story comes full circle, and the father and the son and everybody's all kind of tied into it together. The secondary characters in this series also steal the show. There is a character named Thelma. She's an older woman, and her husband had passed away years before that. And since Chantilly can also see ghosts, which I didn't mention that, did I? But I did say she was a psychic medium, so I'm assuming that was a given for you guys. I'm on a roll tonight, folks. So anyway, Chantilly can see ghosts, obviously, and she meets Thelma's late husband, Charlie. And part of the side story is that it tells you about Thelma and Charlie's love for one another and all of the sweet things that he did for her and how much she misses him now, and that she still sits around in the evenings and has conversations with him, and she senses that he's there, Thelma that is. And that was just a really sweet aspect to the story in the midst of the whole murder mystery. And I really felt like Thelma and Charlie kind of stole the story a little bit, and I enjoyed that about it. Carolyn does that a lot in her books. Her side characters are absolutely phenomenal, and I usually end up falling in love with them more so than the main characters. She just has a knack for making these great characters. So yeah, definitely check out anything from her on Kindle Unlimited. You can read for free. So yeah. Do we have any questions so far? Because I've just been running at the mouth here. Just letting it roll. So if you guys want to interrupt me, or you have any questions about any of the books that I've talked about so far, just put your notes and comments over to the side, and I will be able to take a look at those from you. Also, I have posted a link to the Fangirl Thursday blog. There are links included in that blog post for purchasing all of the books and audiobooks mentioned here, as well as the blurbs for each of the books and my reviews on each as well. So you can definitely go in there and check all of that out. I'm going to, if I can get the computer to cooperate. Dun, dun, dun. Here we go. If you've been following the show, then you also saw Elizabeth Kirk on here earlier this week. She has a new serial out, and the first book dropped on June the 20th, and it is called Magic Betrayed. This is somewhat of a spinoff of her original, tongue-tied, of her original More Than Magic series, but it takes place 5 years after the previous series ended, so you do not have to have read the first series in order to enjoy this new series. Yeah, I got it that time. So the new series is going to be 6 short stories or novellas, and they are going to release on the 20th of each month. The first one came out on June the 20th, and the next one is scheduled to come out on July the 20th. Magic Betrayed is about a group of magics, be it vampire, witches, warlocks, water elementals, fire elementals, wood elementals, anything like that, and they all work for a company called MES, and at MES they are pretty much responsible for making sure that any of the supernaturals that get out of line, they bring them back into line. They're kind of like the FBI or the police force of the magical community. And they stumble across a connection between a disappearance that happens in a local park, and they realize after doing some investigations that for 10 years or longer, people have been going missing from a certain area. And they're trying to figure out how it's all connected. And they are investigating it. Sorry, something popped up on the corner of my screen and they got me sidetracked. So, sidetracked, sorry. So the magics are vanishing without a trace, and the Mez guys are trying to figure out what happened to them, where they're going. Are they being murdered? Are they being sacrificed? And blood magic is being used, which is very, very highly unusual for anyone in the magics, whether it be warlock, witches, or whatever, to use it. So they get a call, and okay, I gotta make this disappear. Sorry. Okay, hopefully that won't pop back up and distract me. So Thomas gets a call, and he and Danny go to the park to respond to a call that they get about a missing magic. And while they're there, along with TS and another guy from their job called Fletcher, they run into a blood magic barrier, so to speak. And that's kind of where the story sparks and takes off from there. So they're investigating these missing magics, trying to figure out how it's all tied together. Ember works in the IT department, so she's able to go in and search through the backlog and see that someone's been going in and adjusting files as to when people are supposedly on vacation, when they're actually missing. and things like that. And they're able to go in and try to tie it all together. And yeah, I'm not explaining this well. It's just not happening. It's a good book. You guys should read it. The new series takes place 5 years later, and you don't have to have read the first series to check it out. It is available for 99 cents. There will be a book that comes out on the 20th of every month until all 6 are out. And then at the very end, there will be a book omnibus put together for it as well. Looks like we had a question pop up from Crystal. Crystal is referring to the book Magic Betrayed. Nothing has happened to TS. He is still around, I promise. I have not beta read, tongue-tied, I have not beta read for the second book yet. But I assure you, the last time I checked, TS was still around. Nothing had happened to him. But yeah, great series. I did a horrible job talking about it and explaining it. I'm going to go ahead and apologize for that now. Elizabeth will be on the Bookish Life, which is hosted by Melanie Gilbert, and she will be on there on July 22nd, right after the second book in the series comes out, to talk about both those books, the first and the second. So make sure you guys chime in for that. Melanie will be posting times for that show. I believe it's going to be at 3 o'clock in the afternoon to accommodate Elizabeth's schedule. So stay tuned on the Bookish Life for more information on that. And we're just going to move right along because, yeah, I butchered it. Oh, my. Hi, Mary. It's okay that you're late. Oh, Mary says that she read Magic Betrayed. I am so glad that you read that, Mary. It makes my heart happy when I know for sure that you guys that tune in are picking up book recommendations that I have talked about on here. It's not any monetary gain for me, but it just makes me happy to know that I don't do all this for naught. You know, you guys are finding great authors and great books to dive into, and I'm so glad that you read and enjoyed her series. She has a fan club. If you're interested, let me know, and I can send you a link to that as well. So, moving along and diving back into audiobooks. Of course, unless you have been living under a rock, then you know that I absolutely love Eric Asher. He is just phenomenal when it comes to world building. I cannot say enough fantastic things about the Vesic series. It's just phenomenal. I don't know how he keeps them straight. I've lost count with the number of characters that's in this series. And they all have such vital roles and storylines that I imagine that he sits in a room and there's like 1,000 Post-it notes all over his desk and the corners of his computer and all that. And there's like whiteboards with notes and lines drawn from this person to that person, just trying to keep it all straight. I can't imagine how he does any of that. And of course, you know, it's really hard for me to talk about this series without throwing out spoilers. It's a super long series. The first 8 books are full-length novels, and then the next, I think we're up to 14 now total. So the next 6 books are novellas, and the audiobooks are anywhere from 2.5 to 3 hours long. So not long audiobooks at all, and super short reads. At this point, Damien has been sort of taken over, and he has turned bad. He's turned evil, and they have taken him to one of the Titans to kind of keep an eye on him, to keep him out of trouble. And he's sort of tucked away so he can't get into any mischief. And the crew, his friends, Zola and his sister, as well as Vicky, are trying to, what are they trying to do? They're trying to find the resources to create a blood knot and to transfer their souls from that anchor to another anchor, because right now Damien, his sister, and Vicky are all tied together. So if one dies, they all die. And they're really worried that they're not going to be able to save Damien in his current state. And so in the event that that does happen and he does die, they want to make sure that they don't lose his sister Sam and Vicky as well. So at this point of the series, we are trying to find all the components to shift the anchor and create a new blood knot and get their soul ties from Damien severed. And I gotta say, of course, I whipped through both of these because, again, they're like 2.5, 3 hours in one day. And I'm pretty much to the point where, I mean, I'm just like, oh my God, I gotta know how it's gonna end. It's such a roller coaster, and all these characters. I'm loving getting the backstories on the other characters from the book and kind of how everything came to be, so to speak. But at the same time, I'm like, dear Lord, man, I need to know how it's all going to end, and I need to know now. So just know, if you get into this series, it is highly, highly addictive. But it is one of the best series I have ever, well, I can't say read because technically I haven't read the first one. I've done the entire series on audio. It is the best, hands down, the best audiobook series I have ever listened to. And his original narrator passed away from cancer, so he had to swap to a new narrator for like the last 4 or 5 books. And I was really unsure going into it with the new narrator. But Aaron Moon, phenomenal. Picked right up where the previous guy left off and just home run every time. Every time. It's a great series. Cannot say enough things about it. And I have a little bit of news about Eric later in the show as well, so don't go anywhere. Now, last but not least, we're going to talk about The Ghost Files. This is the Ghost Files series is by April Baker. I have not had the pleasure of meeting April. Thought I was going to meet her at Roanoke Author Convention. However, of course, due to the virus, that got canceled. I ordered every book in this series as well as the spin-off series. So I have her entire collection back there on my shelf. But it's, yeah, you can't see it because she's up on the top of the shelf. But, so I get this one and it's signed. This is my favorite book in the series. I hope you love it too. That should have been my first clue. This book ripped my heart out, stomped it around, shoved it back in, took it out to the woods, ripped it out again, threw it on the ground, and left it there. Yeah. Thank you very much, April. Not my favorite book in the series. Just kidding. Just kidding. It was awesome. Absolutely awesome. If you are not familiar with the series, I have talked about it a couple times on here. The Ghost Files follows Maddie Hathaway. And in the first book, just to give you a little bit of backstory, because it's been a while since I've talked about it. In the first book, got to get wet for this roll. Here we go. So in the first book, Maddie is living in a foster home. her foster sister is murdered, and her ghost appears to Maddie. Of course, Maddie has no choice but to speak to this ghost because, hello, it's her foster sister. Up until this point, she has avoided ghosts at all costs. She doesn't talk to them. She doesn't interact with them because she knows once she starts, it's going to just open up the floodgates. But in this instance, what can she do? So she's trying to figure out who murdered her foster sister. And basically, she gets kidnapped by the murderer, who turns out to be her, spoiler alert, foster mom. And she gets rescued by a cop who she forms a relationship with, a friendship with, named Dan. And he saves her and another girl named Mary. From there, we spring into the second book. And Maddie goes to New Orleans. And she meets with a doctor who is doing like an exorcism on a house. And he tells her some enlightening things about why she's able to see ghosts, why she's able to communicate with them. And she finds out that she's actually a type of reaper. Lots of things happen in the second book. You just need to read it. Trust me. So springing forward to the third book. Maddie is back home. She's just gotten back home from New Orleans. And she's being physically attacked by these 8 ghosts who represent 8 murdered girls. And they actually will kind of dive into her body and take over, and she sees and feels what they went through when they were murdered. And the creepy thing is that the person who's murdering these girls, in the heat of the moment, just before he kills them, he calls them Maddie Hathaway. Dun, dun, dun. Yeah. So not only is she dealing with this absolute craziness going on, with these ghosts, basically she feels like she's dying every time one of them takes over her, and they're angry at her, and they feel like that it is her fault that they're dead because the person who's murdering them refers to them as Maddie. Not only that, but she meets her biological father in this series as well. And that opens up a whole new can of worms. Because something just isn't quite right with her biological dad. He seems to sort of make deals with the devil, so to speak, and he's just not very trustworthy. It hasn't all come out exactly what he is, but there's something up with him. And we're still not. In addition to that, there's a demon named Silas who keeps coming and visiting Maddie. And he tells her that she belongs to him. And that he does this crazy thing where he takes her blood and he paints pictures with it. And when he does, the pictures move. They like come to life. It's freaky. And what he wants with her hasn't been revealed yet, but you know it's going to be something awful. And you really you don't know who to trust. I mean, because he's a demon, so obviously you can't trust him. There's something wonky going on with her dad. All of this is going on, and she finds out she's a reaper on top of everything else. So, as if all of that is not a roller coaster enough with you trying to figure out what's up with her dad, why does this demon want her, and who murdered these 8 girls. In the midst of all of that, someone very close to Maddie gets injured in a dire way. And I'm not going to tell you if that person lives or dies. But I will say this, I bawled like a baby. It was a rough few chapters. This book was just all over the place. And you don't expect that coming from a paranormal horror type book. So yeah, way to go, April Baker. This one was the best one in the series so far, but it was also the roughest one by far for me to get through. And this poor girl's had a rough life. Her backstory didn't bother me. Her getting almost murdered by her foster mom didn't bother me, but this one, yeah, this one got me. I've been reading this one off and on for like 2 months because again, other things kept coming up and I had to keep putting it down and doing these other books and things that I had on a time frame that I had to get out. So I actually found this one on Audible as well. So I went back and I downloaded it this week and I spent the last 4 days listening to this one on audio. And so I relived the first half that I had already read, and then, of course, the second half that kept ripping my heart out and left me a shriveling little mess over there in the corner. So, yeah, definitely if you guys have not checked out April Baker yet, I haven't talked to her about being on the show. I'm going to definitely have to do that. Check out the covers to all of the books in this series. They are all just super, super creepy. And oh my gosh, they're so good. The first book in the series is called The Ghost Files Book 1 or Volume 1. And if I'm not mistaken, it is free on Amazon. And then, of course, all of them are available on Kindle Unlimited as well. So just to do a quick little recap here because Mary did pop in late, and just in case she has any questions, I want to make sure you're able to see everything that we talked about tonight. We've discussed the third house, which is the final book in the First Blood trilogy from Heather Karn, and hands down the best series I have read from Heather. It was just a great, phenomenal series. If you guys haven't read that one, definitely recommend you check it out. The Collector was a middle grade horror that was recommended to me from Kelly Martin, and I loved it, devoured it in one day, and I am definitely going to be checking out other books from that author as well. His name is K.R. Alexander. We also talked about 2 books from Carolyn Ritter Aspenson. These are cozy mysteries, and they are paranormal cozy mysteries. Spooks for Sale deals with a witch who can see ghosts, and Praying for Peace deals with a medium that can see ghosts. We also talked about Elizabeth Kirk's Magic Betrayed, and I absolutely butchered everything I had to say about that book, but trust me, it's phenomenal. Buy it. 99 cents or free on Kindle Unlimited. And then we wrapped things up with the Ghost Files as far as books that were read. And then of course, we talked about books from Eric Asher, who's always phenomenal. So I hope you guys, if you have any questions about any of those, will post them for me over there, and we will get those answered from the comments. So I have a little bit of news about some things that we have coming up for the show in July. I am super excited to announce that we've been able to work it out, and Eric Asher is going to be here on July the 16th. Super, super excited for that. Hope you guys mark that on your calendars, put reminders in your phones. If you don't see any other show in the month of June, or July rather, you want to see that one. I have been dying to get Eric on here. I have so many questions about his books, the series, the world building that he does with it. I saw the other day that he posted on his page that he's plotting out a new trilogy. I can't wait to get more information on that. I really want a peek behind the curtain as to how he is able to put together the Vesic series. I am in awe of that. I can't wait for you guys to meet him and to get to talk to him. I hope you will have your questions ready for him as well. I am just so excited to have him on here. It was just a scheduling conflict beforehand, and then the virus came up, and I hadn't seen him online much, so I hadn't reached out to him, and then spotted him online the other day, and I'm like, hey, gotta hit him up. So I can't wait to have him on here again. I've met him twice, I think, or 3 times. He's super nice, but we've never really had an opportunity to chat in depth about his books. So I can't wait to have him on here and get to pick his brain a little bit, see what all he's got going on. We are going to change things up just a little bit. I am not going to be doing a Fangirl Thursday on July the 2nd. Not doing anything for July 4th with everything going on with the virus and all that, but I'm just going to take some time and just chill and be at home. So that's the reason why we're not doing a show on the 2nd. And then I thought we'd change things up a little bit. And on July the 9th, I'm going to talk to you guys about how to write reviews. I don't claim to be an expert. I don't think there's a wrong way or a right way to write reviews. But sometimes people come to me and they go, I don't know how to write a review. I read this book. I enjoyed this book, but how do I put that down on paper? So I thought we would talk about reviews, how I write reviews, maybe how Crystal writes reviews, that sort of thing. There's no wrong or right way, but we'll talk about some ideas and maybe it'll spark a little bit of discussion. So can't wait to talk about that as well. And then on the 23rd, we are going to have Stacy O'Rourke on the show again. She has a new serial coming out as well. It sounds so funny when I say that. I instantly start thinking about like Fruity Pebbles or something because, you know, cereal, yeah. Anywho, I didn't put the title or anything on here yet because on tomorrow on the blog and on the Facebook page, you guys will be able to see, you'll be able to see the new book cover, the title. It's going to be up for pre-order as well, and what it's about. And I am super, super excited for this new series that she has coming out. And the cover looks fantastic. So I cannot wait until she's able to come on and talk about that. The new book will be coming out on July the 4th. No, July the 24th, sorry. And she's also going to be here to talk about Once Upon a Book. Once Upon a Book is a book signing that Stacy hosts in Michigan in July every year. However, of course, due to the virus, that's not happening this year. So she's doing something a little different, and she's having a virtual signing. And I'll have to get the link and share it in this in the comments here for you guys. But it's also posted on the Two Girls in a Book page as well from earlier today if you want to go back and look for it. But basically what she's doing is all of the authors who were scheduled to attend the book signing are going to be part of the online Facebook virtual signing. They are assigned time slots throughout the day, and they will come on and they'll talk briefly about their books and tell you what they have available for you to order. And so you're able to chat via Facebook with the author, and you are able to order signed books direct from the author, and then you can pay via PayPal. It's not quite the same as seeing the author in person and getting to chat with them, but considering the times that we're in right now, it's really the best any of us can do. So I highly recommend that you guys mark that on your calendar. The virtual signing is going to take place on July 24th and 25th. You don't have to be around all day long checking in on the post. The post will stay up and stay open for the entire weekend, so you will be able to go back in and look at anything that you've missed and contact any authors that you want to about purchasing any books that you might be interested in getting. So definitely make sure that you guys check that out as well. And then last but certainly not least, I have one last bit of information for you guys. One last little tease, if you will. As you guys know, I have been co-writing a book with Melanie Gilbert. It has been a slow and tedious process, but I have learned so much through it. And Melanie has been absolutely fantastic and so patient with me through all of it. Um, she let me reach out to a designer, and pretty much I sent my vision board of my characters and Melanie's characters and the town that this book takes place in to the designer, and then she kicked me back what she thought I might want in a cover. And I swear she looked into my brain and she just plucked it right out of there because I am in love. And honestly, I don't think it was real until I saw a cover. Then at the bottom of that cover, it had my name. There were a couple of tears. It was a good moment. It was pretty exciting. Side was worn off a little bit now. Woo! Apparently the dog's excited too. Um, so I am not showing you cover the guy. Ugh, tongue tied. I'm not showing you guys the cover tonight, but I do have a surprise for you relating to the cover. So I am going to sign off and pop up a brief surprise for you guys. So just hang around for a couple of more minutes and check out the surprise.